we have a chance to catch up to Dr. Lizzy Davis. Lizzy, I appreciate you getting on board with us. This month here at Torgerson's, we are kind of talking a lot about stress. I think it's in every business. I think, what is the level that's good? What isn't? I guess my first question to you, Doctor, would be what is stress? I mean, how do we determine what that is?
Yeah, so the first thing to consider is first off, stress is good. We want to have a little bit of stress in our lives, but we want to make sure that we have the right kind of stress and the right balance of the good kind versus bad kind. So, the first type of stress is acute stress. So, this would be your response to something short term. Say you're in a car accident or you're falling, something happens pretty quickly and then it goes away fairly quickly. So it's a short period of time. Chronic stress, that's the one that we want to be a little bit careful with. Chronic stress is that stress that doesn't let up for a longer period of time. So things like toxic relationships, financial hardship, things like that. So, chronic stress is really what can damage that mental and physical health.
I love that you went with two different ways on that because there is stress and then there's too much stress. In ag country, obviously, every year is a roll of the dice. There's stress if the rain's coming at the right time, are we going to get the sunshine, that type of stuff. How does it affect us? How does stress affect pay? Let's start with our body. Obviously, too much, it kind of breaks us down, doesn't it?
Yeah, so there's actually, I think it's really cool, geeking out a little bit. So I mentioned that chronic stress can lead to both mental and physical health, or it contributes to both of those things. So there's actually something called the gut-brain axis.
Mm.
Of course, everything has a shorthand. So if you're going to Google this or something like that, you can Google BGA, is what a lot of people call it. But this BGA, this gut brain axis, is a communication channel in our brain. It goes from our brain to our pelvis. So it goes through our stomachs. And really, what it does is it helps our guts communicate with our brain, and our brains communicate with our guts. There's a big nerve. It's the largest nerve. It's called the vagus nerve.
Hmm.
And that's really what is doing that talking there. And the reason why I tell you about this communication channel in your body is because those two things, your brain and your gut, they're talking to each other. And so basically meaning like your mental health is contributing to your gut health and your gut health is contributing to your mental health. So
Hmm.
when we're stressed, that's we're categorizing that under mental health. When you're stressed, it's actually leading to issues in your gut. So one example of that would be it's changing. Stresses can directly impact your gut physiology. So the way that things happen, the science in your gut changes with stress. So one example of that is that can actually decrease nutrient absorption. So you're not absorbing the nutrients that you could otherwise. And then it also can lead to inflammation, which we know can lead to other chronic diseases. So, all of that from things happening in your brain can impact the health of your gut, which impacts the health of your body.
So we talked about this. We talked a little bit about nutrition, but how do we relieve stress? What are some good points to kind of settle things down and kind of bring yourself back? I know talking about it's one good way of doing it.
Yeah. So, I want to make a few disclaimers. First disclaimer is as a registered dietitian, mental health isn't necessarily in the scope of our, I'm not prescribing anyone this is what you should do.
Sure.
But I am trained in research. And I do have two peer-reviewed publications on stress. So what I can do is I can tell you what is in the literature on this topic. I think a lot of us are familiar with some of these coping strategies like yoga and meditation and journaling.
Hmm.
But for me personally, That would take a lot of effort to incorporate that into my life. I would need to find 30 minutes to an hour to do that, and that's just not going to work. I have a 2-year-old at home. And so I think I thought about a few different ways. There's 3 ideas that I have for you guys. You don't have to do them all, kind of see what talks to you. This one is specifically for you. Turn up the volume with your DJ history. I thought you might like this one.
Nice.
So we do know there's actually quite a bit of research on music and the impact that it has on mood. So Stanford University, those smart folks over there, they have said that listening to music seems to be able to change the brain functioning to do the same thing as meditation. And so what we found in the literature is that music around 60 beats per minute can cause the brain to have something called alpha brain waves. And that's important because those brain waves are present when we're relaxed. So it's kind of mimicking that relaxed feeling. So some songs that are about 60 beats per minute, just so you can have an idea of what we're talking about here. My Girl. My Girl. Everybody loves that song. Yeah. Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Elton John. You Are Not Alone. Michael Jackson. Simple Man, Leonard Skinner, just to name a few.
Yeah.
And I also found that if you, in any streaming services, you can actually go in there and search 60 beat per minute radio stations. And then you can also do specific to a genre. So if you really like country, if you really like pop, you can find radio stations that are 60 beats per minute for that specific genre. So I thought that was pretty cool. Also important to consider how to improve gut health, because again, that can have an impact on the stress that we're feeling and our mental health. So first thing, always talk to your doctor before you change your diet. But some ways that you can improve your gut health would be prebiotics. So those are the things that we talked about. Prebiotics are really the food for bacteria, the food for that bacteria in your intestines. So think fiber here. Think fruits, vegetables, whole grains. We should be eating those anyways. Probiotics. This one's the one that is a little bit tougher to get. Probiotics are the actual microbiome. So you're adding healthy bacteria to your gut to increase that healthiness of your gut bacteria. So this one's harder to get. Yogurt would be a good, safe example. Kimchi, if we're going to get crazy, kombucha, but sourdough bread would also be a great example. And then lastly, trying to decrease inflammation. So decreasing sugar, decreasing processed foods, trying to get more whole foods would be a couple ways that we could decrease inflammation. So we talked about gut health. We talked about ways to improve the mental health and stress. And then between those two things, your brain and your gut will communicate just a little bit better.
It's such a wide open subject. I mean, stress, when we talk about it, is you could go on for days about it. And I know we just scratched the surface, but I sure appreciate your insight on all this. And thank you. I know your family. I love your family. And you talked about the little 2-year-old. God bless him. So you and Devin are just very special to our hearts. But thank you, my dear. And when I'm done with all this, I'll send you over a copy. So.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah. And thank you so much for having me. Yes. We would do anything for you. So happy to help.